Good morning, Tubes. Here's a engineering programmatic consideration for major projects, major work. It's called a life cycle plan. It's something you generally think about, like putting the next meal on the table is part of a life cycle, right? This is the big word, life cycle, not the day in and day out. This is before you're born and after you're gone. How did we get here? How does the next generation share in the largesse and wealth that we've enjoyed, right? So, life cycle planning is a part of, I want to say nature, but nature kind of doesn't plan, it just reacts. So, this idea, life cycle, this word, this concept is about planning next year's crops. What do you plant? What will sell? What are people eating? What do people need to eat? Can you afford to raise that crop without going bankrupt and buy the seed to plant? Do you have the seeds? If you're an Armageddon type, you better have about 5 to 7 years worth of seed stored, because any single year's crop failure is going to kill you, right? Climate, weather change, and stuff like that. So, life cycle planning, how do you keep that shelf on the 7-Eleven full? Because if it empties, your neighborhood's going to be doing a Slurpee search, and they're going to go buy Slurpees from other neighborhoods and deplete the Slurpee supply elsewhere. This is how big this stuff is, right? I'm being silly, but so in there, in that idea, that concept, that notion, there are large governmental organizations that help guide that planning. Tax law is supposed to aid and abet this future planning and allow for things to happen and grow and change, or move backwards and degrade and fall to shit and people complain. So the idea of a life cycle is just a thought. Just a thought. The water you waste today, you won't have tomorrow. The water we pollute today, we will have tomorrow, and we will have to drink it. And the air is the same way. So, an awareness, a denial of the effects of anthropomorphic, which means man made, basically. Okay. When we got to be enough people on the planet, we called ourselves anthropomorphic effectors. I don't know. So, it gets really complicated quick. There's people that get paid good money to worry about this stuff. They're called think tanks. They go around and they write laws and hand them to legislators, and the legislators get big bucks in their Jeffrey dollars accounts for passing these great ideas along. They aren't the legislatures. There's some think tank somewhere that sat around and thought about it, and they sit in the background and they poke these little notes to their friends and buddies and allies, and shit changes for the worse. Better for a few. So, life cycle. Why have I brought this up again? This is the nuclear regime's largest challenge. You see, there is no life cycle right now to nuclear because of the folly of the waste disposal. The creation of the fuel, before the plant is even started, there's contracts for the fuel to be delivered. The fuel begins being planned and made and production quantities set. And oh, hey, Iran's in there trying to play in this $1 billion nuclear fuel game. That is the war. This is what the war is over. Iran is competing in a global market with about 5 other multinational corporations that get multi-year, multi-billion-dollar contracts just to make the fuel. The pollution from the mining and the processing and the fuel assembly is historic. It's recorded. The harm from it is shown by cesium leaks out of Paducah, and that wasn't all that leaked, but we heard about one isotope out of that goddamn site, and that is not how nuclear works. So, life cycle. This is the life cycle analysis I've seen done is all about profit. If they can't get the profit out of it, then they won't do it. So how do you do that? You ignore the fuel cycle. You push it, don't worry your pretty little heads about that fuel cycle, folks. They ignore the waste cycle. We have 120 commercial nuclear reactors with spent fuel. Do some math. Hundreds of spent fuel rods, thousands of spent fuel rods at some of these sites just sitting there cooking, cooling down enough so that they can be placed into some kind of containers we don't know much about, that we're not supposed to worry about because Rick Perry worried about it for us. Give me a freaking break, Department of Energy, my arse. Department of Grift, Graft, Theft. Oh, coffee morning, too long a talk, rambled on, not specific. There is a global industry with about 6 to 8 players. Did you hear Rolls-Royce has delayed their SMR research and release? Rolls-Royce is building an SMR because now that's about the 8th or 10th company I'm aware of that's building small modular reactors. You don't do that out of benevolence. You do that out of profits. That is how corporations work. And the profit from just producing the energy is huge if they don't have to pay for our trash. Listen to the games. Listen to the excuses the people surrounding this that play in this world give. They're pathetic. Professionals won't come into this arena because it's a no-win. The conversations go to shit very quickly, and they know that. And the industry uses it. This is part of the spiel. This is part of the game. Find that personality trait that you can pick on, that you can degrade, that little bit of personal information that the fucker needs a haircut, right? And the whole conversation goes to shit. And that is a tactic. That is exactly how it goes. The fact there was a significant amount of strontium 90. Tobacco loves strontium 90 and some other elements. They were found, they were recorded in the tobacco trials records. You can go find the analytics, the sciences that shows that information was there. That is a cancer causer, especially when it coats your lungs and it titrates slowly through your blood vessels and puts radiation all across your body. But the biggest, the closest, the most telling is lung cancer. I'm not saying carcinogens in cigarettes don't cause cancers. I'm saying that strontium 90, which global governments test for in cigarettes, why would they do that? I thought this was all safe and these concerns were over, yet go check it out. I'm pretty sure strontium 90 in cigarettes is a thing. Could have the wrong isotope. I don't think so. Happy Wednesday. Good science to you.